So I create this podcast for people who want to learn how to like launch or run a small business.
Don't do it.
Right? Don't
I'm
do
just
it.
kidding. I'm just kidding. No, yeah.
And I have you on today because you run a successful small business, you know? So let's go right into like, who are you and what you do?
Sure, man. I'm Derek Aguilar.
Yeah.
I run X-Managed LLC. We do signage, we do woodwork, and we do really custom shit.
Really custom stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
So like large format brand activations and, really kind of those things that people start to think about. They're like, man, where or who could do this? And,
Yeah.
they make a few phone calls, nobody can do it.
Right.
Then they finally find me and I'm like, yeah, let's rock and roll.
So
Let's
how
do it.
did people find you? Like Google,
So
call you?
I'm very fortunate in that I've gotten to know a lot of people in town. I've whether it's in person or social media
Yeah.
and so right now where a lot of my business is coming from is either referrals or from people who have seen my work and they're like, hey, I saw that you did that for this person. Can we talk about this project?
Nice.
So again,
How much money you spend on marketing?
right now,
Yeah.
like $80 a month.
$80 a month. That's insane.
It's like nothing. Yeah.
So let's take it back a little bit.
That's not what I was spending at the beginning, though.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
take it back a little bit. How long have you been running this business?
So in June, it'll be 5 years. In June, it'll be 5 years. And what I'm doing today versus what I was doing day one, week
Yeah.
one, month one is night and day.
Night and day.
Night and day.
So what was your net profit year one, and what's your net profit, this last year?
So I will tell you that we were profitable
Yeah.
year one. Not by much.
Couple
Not by
dollars.
much. Being that I started the company in June, I'm taking it
I
as
see.
it was half a year.
Right.
But even then, we still made a little bit of money. All I'll say is we've made a little more profit every year for the last 5 years.
Nice.
So I do think that a big part of
Yeah.
the reason that I was able to hit the ground running is because I did help run a company with a friend of mine for about 7 years. I learned a ton. I learned a lot.
Before you started?
Before I started.
So it's not like
Yeah.
you started a business from scratch.
No,
So
no,
you didn't
no,
you
no,
didn't just
no.
wake up one day out of your couch and be like, I'm going to start a business. It's going to start today.
No.
So what's the background? How did you end up running X-Managed?
X-Managed, yes,
Yeah.
sir. So a friend of mine, Alex Hilmy, I
Yeah.
went to high school with him.
Okay.
Back in 2011, he came to me and was like, hey, I'm thinking of starting a company, thinking of, he was doing some photography at the time.
Right.
And he was like, I think we want to do some print work and, this and that. He's like, you got some background in Photoshop and, blah, 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 this
Yeah.
and that. Do you want to come along? And I was like,
So
well.
he brought you on.
He brought me on. And so that's where, that was my dipping into, large format print. That was dipping into.
And it was his own business?
It was his, yes.
So you kind of got to experience kind of a startup business without no risk, right?
1,000%.
Right.
Yes.
So you kind of
Yes.
got to see.
Invaluable, man. Invaluable.
Nice.
So that's why, again, when I did decide, we can talk about what that decision came
Right.
from, but I'm still great friends with Alex. Love him to death. He's like a brother to me.
Nice.
And, again, I would start another business with him if he came to me tomorrow and was
Nice.
like, hey, I think I want to do this.
Right.
But because of that, yeah, day one, just filed for an LLC. I did the legal Zoom thing. I didn't try to do that myself.
Right,
So
right.
I'm not going to take credit for that. Yeah, LLC.
So when you started your business.
Yeah, got the EIN, separate bank account, separate phone number, everything that I learned from working for those 7 years with him.
Would you say that's like essentials of starting a business, like even before you start, is having those things set up?
I think it's
EIN number, separate bank account.
for me, it's important because I knew that if I didn't do it then, I was going to have to catch up later. So for me, because I knew, for example, the phone number thing. A lot of people think like, oh, I just use my cell phone number, whatever.
Yeah.
That's cool when you're starting.
Yeah.
But if you grow like you hope to grow,
Yeah.
you're going to have to, you're going to be taking all those phone calls. You're
Yeah.
gonna be taking, so for me, I still take all those phone calls, 5 years in.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to, let's say, leave for a week and I was like, hey, Dario, can you take all my phone calls?
Yeah.
I can easily have you grab that number. I can forward it. I can do a whole bunch of things with that phone
Yeah.
number that what I noticed when we were growing Hilmy's company
Yeah.
was a lot of people were calling that original phone number, which
Yeah.
is his cell phone number, and they were wanting to talk
Interesting.
to him.
Yeah.
And I don't have a team that I can have, answer calls or do anything like that, but he did. He had people
Yeah.
like me and a few other employees. And it was getting to the point where he was like, my phone's ringing all the time. I want to step away from it for a moment and have my guys handle it. And so I was like, all right, first thing, phone number. Also, I have a 956 phone number for my personal line.
Yeah.
Being from San Antonio, I've been here for 16 years now.
16
so
years, yeah.
San Antonio's home. My business line is a 210 number. So
Yeah.
I figured that was also important.
Right.
If people are looking me up, they're not going to want to call a 956 number.
Right.
They're going to be like, this
Yeah,
guy's
because
probably out of town.
San Antonio, like 10 years ago, like there's only 210 numbers. You know what I mean? Like, people who, if you didn't have a 210, you weren't from San Antonio.
Right. Right.
Now I'm starting to plug in phone. For an example, I never used to put 210. I used to just put the 3 and the 4 digits to call people.
Yeah.
That's how I remember. But now, you got to put the area code because the numbers starting to be more diverse. But if you're a business, you need to have a local.
Yeah,
phone
and
number.
I just think it's important. It's simply for like the optics of it.
Yeah.
If somebody's looking up signed companies and there's a 210 number and a 956 number, you're like, well, I know the 210 numbers here in San Antonio, so I'm going to deal with somebody here in San Antonio.
Right.
Versus that 956 guy, maybe I'll call him after the 210.
It sounds to me like you actually been in business for 12 years, not 5 years. Because the first 7 years actually was like your entrepreneur school.
Yeah, man.
And then so you're successful for where you're at, not because you've been doing business for 5 years, but because you've been entrepreneur, I would say, for 12 years.
I 100% agree with you. Yes.
So
I would not have done this if I didn't have that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If I didn't have that.
So
also,
go ahead.
Also, sorry. I felt like I had to do it. I had to do it because otherwise that would have been such a waste.
And what do you mean?
So it's kind of like, again, I had 7 years of schooling and 7 years of this is how you do it. This is how you should go about it. This is, it would be such a waste to not actually try it for myself and see, okay, did I actually learn anything? Could I actually do this? And, I'd kick myself till I was, 90 years old. Like, man, I should have done it. And so I'm
During
really glad
those
that I
7
did.
years, Derek, were you much more of an employee, or were you helping with the operation of the business?
Definitely operations. So again, it was very low risk for me because I had no money in it.
Right.
But it was very much, I was very invested in that. I put myself into everything that I do. It's one of those things where I love to have my friends succeed as much as as myself. And I do think that Alex and I were a good balance of, he was very business savvy. He's really great at what he does. I'm really good at logistics and problem solving and figuring out how best to do things in a work setting, in a problem solving kind of setting.
That's probably why you're successful. Because you have that skill.
I can't turn it off, man.
I can't turn it off.
Let
Let me ask you some questions, man, because it sounds that because of your experience, you jumped into business, kind of got pushed out. You got pushed into it, right? But when you started, were you ready? And what was it like on now I have a business? What do you do as an entrepreneur, as someone who has a business? What's the first thing you start to do once you have your business set up? And you want to go
Well, fortunately for me, woodwork has been a hobby of mine since I was 5 years old. I had actually built the shop that I'm working out of. I built it in my backyard a year before. I wasn't planning on using it as a career shop, you know what I mean? But I built it because I was working out of my garage. Just, I built a couple of tables. I built some things for fun.
Right.
Sold them
family,
on
for friends.
Sold them on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, whatever it was. And so I already had the shop set up. And it's one of those things where, like I told you, I had all this, knowledge and background. I've met a whole bunch of business owners. I knew a lot of people in town already.
Right.
To where I was like, well, it'd be such a waste for me to not jump in and try and do this on my own. I had the woodworking skills already.
Waste of your talent or waste of your time?
Waste of an opportunity. Yeah, because again, would I have continued to woodwork and stuff like that? Sure, because again, I built the shop for that. I was going to continue doing it as a hobby, but the opportunity to have it become a business because of the background and because of the people that I got to know, that's the opportunity that I didn't want to waste.
Yeah. Did you know the income would be what it is now when you were working for someone else's business?
No. No.
Yeah. So it wasn't about the income. It was about passion. It was about having opportunities. It was about growing.
So
that kind of jumped you into your business.
I think everybody would be lying if they said it wasn't about the income, because it's very important. Was I loving what I was doing as a hobby? For sure.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that makes becoming an entrepreneur and starting business and all that, what makes it a little more worth it, what makes it a little more manageable is when you are passionate about what you do.
Right.
Because it's tough, man. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Again, if you're not a self-starter, if you can't get up in the morning and be like, all right, I gotta do something, then it's not for you. Then spend your time in school and go, be very successful in a career that has the rails for you on that. I love what I do.
Yeah.
I 1,000% love what I do. And a lot of times, people are like,
that's important, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Can you do it without loving it? Sure. Maybe if there's enough money, but it's tough. I think that for me, I'm still tired. I'm still stressed.
Yeah.
I'm still, just racking my brain with, not knowing what day it is. All of those things that people complain about when, they're like, man, my job is tough. Mine is too.
Yeah.
But the difference is it's so worth it, man.
Yeah.
It's so worth it in the connections that you make with, other small business owners. Because what I do, doing signage, typically that means that you're a small business also, and you're opening up your first place. You're putting up, you're hanging the sign on your first building or your second or your third, whatever.
Yeah.
And so getting to really connect with other people that are doing the same thing that I was doing or that I am doing, that's what's really cool.
Nice.
And again, like we mentioned, a lot of my customers are return customers, and I'm so thankful and grateful for that, because that tells me like, all right, we can fake it for now while you're talking about like, yeah, great, but it's real when you come back to me, because that means you didn't have to come back to me, but you did, and that means that the first interaction really was a good one.
I think it's a result of your customer service, your ability to deliver good experience.
Yeah, that's what feels the best, man. That again, being able to pay my bills, being able to buy new tools and expand my shop. That's fun and that's great, and I really enjoy that. But what I've really, really, really come to love is just the people that I've had the chance to work with, the crazy things that people come to me and they're like, hey, we really want to, I don't know, man.
Let's talk about that. What is it? What is it you do? If we were to meet each other in an elevator and I introduce myself and we have 30 seconds, I'm like, hey man, so what do you do for a living?
Well, again, signage, woodwork, and large format production. So large format production is the one that people are always like, what is that? So a small example is like those two letters right there, the CO.
Yeah.
We can make you some of those. We can make them up to like 12 feet tall if you want.
Wow.
If you've been down at Travis Park in the last 2 or 3 years, myself and Willie from El Wapo Fabrication, we built that 12 foot by 12 foot photo frame for Centro. So,
no way.
Yeah, just like the one you see at ACL.
Yeah.
They actually sent us the photo. They're like, hey.
Can we do it like this?
Yeah, we kind of really like this. Do you think you can do it? And of course, the kicker is always, yeah, we can do it. They're like, all right, cool. Can you do it in like 2 weeks? It's like, sure.
Yeah. How often do you come across a opportunity, a gig that you have you don't know how to execute and you got to figure out?
All of them.
All of them. So
all of them. No. So, that's not entirely a joke.
Right.
Yeah. Because again, a lot of these things that people are bringing to me, are totally custom.
Yeah.
I'm not, I might buy a few things off the shelf here, but to put them together in a way that they're not.
So you're a problem solver.
I am a problem solver. And the thing is,
and that's why they pay you.
Yeah, no,
right?
for sure. So I went to school for engineering. I didn't actually finish, but this is the part that scratches the engineering part of my brain.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, people ask me all the time, how did you know how to do that? And I honestly tell them I didn't.
I didn't.
But I knew how to do this little thing here. I knew how to do that little thing here. I knew this and that might work together. I've seen this happen, and so I'm able to pull. For me, the nice thing is from different industries, being that I have print background, being that I have woodworking, being that. Yeah. So I also have really great vendors. I have really great friends who also do, metal work, who do. I have other woodworking friends who are way better than I am at woodworking. I'm just really good at using my tools and machines and things like that. So,
so if you need something high crafted, you may kind of partner with them, reach out to them.
Yeah. And same for them. Again, there's enough work in this city for everybody.
Right.
And, I'm friends with other sign guys. As a matter of fact, one of them just got me out of a bind the other day. I was like, man, I need a 15.5-foot raceway for a sign. And the company that we get it out of in Houston wasn't going to be able to get it to me in time.
Yeah. So
I called them up. I was like, hey, man, any chance you got a 15-foot raceway you can sell me? He was like, yeah, actually, I do. So
interesting.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
I don't, again, people aren't competition.
What's the most craziest thing you've ever had to build? That you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
Man, so I think a good one is a 5-foot disco ball that works as a DJ booth.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it had to be mobile. So had to have wheels, had to have a drop-down platform for the DJ to stand on, some shelving on the inside. And again, it weighs a lot. It probably weighs about 300 pounds.
Wow.
But yeah, we've got some huge casters on it. I 3D modeled it, kind of figured out how to get the general shape.
Yeah.
And we were off to the races, man. So that one has been, I think, so we used real glass. We used tile that you would use to do a backsplash.
Wow.
And it was about 3,000 pieces of tile. It's probably...
How long did it take to construct that thing?
It took like 3 weeks. Because when
Working on it every day?
No, not like 8 hours a day every day.
Yeah.
Just because I have other things kind of...
And
I'm a
parts
one-man
being
show
ordered,
doing different things. But the idea that I had when I started is not how it ended up.
Yeah.
I started, ran into some issues, okay? Chased something down just enough to where you're like, okay, this is definitely not working, and then switch.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's pretty important to learn early on is it's okay if something isn't working the way that you want it to work. Have a backup plan, and then don't be afraid to jump to that backup plan.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that backup plan works best if you combine it with the first plan. So
that's very fitting for an entrepreneur, because I think that's kind of how you had to manage business. You have opportunity, you have problems. There's never one solution for all. Interesting. And what's been the most non-deserving commission you've got? You're gonna pay me this much? All right, it was this easiest thing to do. How much was that check or that commission or that gig, and what did you have to do?
Man, that is a great question. So, I do some work, like I said, with some really great vendors, and I've done a couple of projects where I do the work on the front end, and I do the 3D models, I sell it, I do this and that, and I've done a couple signs where I didn't touch it at all. I didn't do any I didn't do any of the fabrication, I didn't do any of the install, and I just got
brokered the deal. You know what I mean?
So those are cool. Those are fun.
But it also requires work too, because the front end and then finding the vendor, you're the middleman.
Yeah. So I think I won't say that's. I don't get a huge check out of those, but the reason that I think I pick that is because that's something that happens every now and then. I have some signs that I do, and I have some signs that I know that this other guy is going to be better at making for me. So you make it, and then let's go put it up together.
Yeah.
And so the reason that's my favorite is because it allows me to do the really cool, really fun stuff.
Right.
And not have to worry about the bills.
And still get the work.
Yeah.
Right. You can still execute the work, but kind of delegate some work to others, That
has been the most difficult part of doing this, is because everything is so custom.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know how it's supposed to really. I have an idea whether it's going to work like that in real life or
Yeah.
not. I don't know. So that's why it's really hard to delegate really custom stuff.
Yeah.
And I haven't done that yet. I've been better about delegating for like signage and you know,
Yeah.
things like that because that's a little more straightforward.
Yeah.
It's a little more straightforward, and so it does allow me to work on the really custom stuff without having to really be like, okay, I gotta also do a sign.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I bought a CNC machine. I have a CNC machine.
Yeah.
We do stuff like that all the
Yeah.
time. We're actually
Nice.
going to get ready to do some for a client that I think they're ordering. I think they're ordering like 10 or so letters in the next like week or two. So
When you started your business, Derek, like, did you know like did you know how it was gonna be envisioned, or you just kind of it's kind of been building from day one?
So I knew that I wanted to be doing what I'm doing today. I did not know how I was going to get there. Now, again, year one,
Yeah.
man, I was delivering for Postmates. I was delivering for
Yeah.
Amazon. I was on Thumbtack,
Hustling,
hanging people's artwork. I was
Yeah.
fixing people's crooked shelves and hanging people's doors.
Yeah.
I painted some cabinets for a couple of months. I think I've done like 5 kitchens, 6 kitchens.
Yeah.
For me, everything is about trying something out and then reviewing it and being like, okay, is that good, like, money?
Right.
And then is that something that I enjoy?
Yeah.
I use the cabinets as an example. Painting cabinets has a really big ROI.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of
'cause
work too.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I'm probably spending $400 or $500 on paint, and then I'm billing $4,000 or $5,000 to
Yeah.
get the job done. So it's a really high margin.
Yeah.
But I can't build anything in my shop while that's going on
Yeah.
because I can't make any sawdust. You're shutting somebody's kitchen down for a few days,
Yeah.
and so that doesn't feel great to be
Right,
like,
right.
yeah, sorry guys, you
Yeah.
can't use your kitchen for a few
Yeah.
days.
No more cooking.
Yeah. So it was nice to do a few kitchens, but at the end of the day, I was like, this is not. I don't enjoy this.
Yeah.
This is not what I want to be doing. And the money was good, but it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I know we talked about it being about the money because it has to be about the money,
Right.
but it really isn't.
Yeah.
It really isn't. It's one of those things where I was doing what I'm doing for fun
Yeah.
before it was my career,
Right.
and now I just happen to get paid for it. So
Yes. And then you run your own business from it. You talked about it not being kind of like worth your time because it takes you away from other things. I like to think of, like, especially if you're an entrepreneur, your time in 3 ways.
Okay.
Your high value or high income producing activity, your support activity that doesn't produce income, but the work that you need to do, and then like your personal time. So for you, what is like your most highest producing income producing activity that you're doing? Like, what is that in your business? By doing this action, it equals revenue.
Okay. Well, we talked about the one where I don't have to do a lot of work,
Right.
which is the science, which
Right.
is great, which
Yeah.
is great. But again, the activity that I personally do
Yeah.
is the large format. It's the large format because even woodwork, like cabinetry and like custom retail store
Yeah.
fronts and things like that. It's okay. It's okay. But there are a lot of other people that also do that kind of cabinetry that will come in either at the same price
Yeah.
or cheaper than me.
I see.
And so that's not where the big money is.
Right.
Where the big money is where where
Extreme custom.
I'm the guy that
Yeah.
I'm the guy that people call where they're like,
Yeah.
we have no idea how to do this.
Yeah, this is
How
my
do we do it?
vision.
So the reason I can bill a lot for it is because one, a lot is involved, but number two, it's one of one.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where not only, again, it's one of one for me, but
Right.
it's also one of one for you as the
Right,
client. So you
right.
kind of get to go and say, like the guy with the 5-foot
Yeah.
disco ball, there's nobody else in town that
Yeah,
has a 5-foot
yeah.
disco ball that rolls around that you
Yeah.
can light up and
But
do all
such
that
a
stuff.
good area because these businesses probably have a good budget. If they're asking for something that custom. So not only do you work for the business that has a budget, but then you can also customize things for them, you know?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the reason, so I don't, you asked me about advertising earlier. I don't advertise signage, and I don't advertise woodwork. Again, I have some in like lobby logos and a couple different things, couple different little keywords that people who are starting a business might be looking for.
Yeah.
But the reason I don't advertise woodwork is because I get those calls where people are like, hey, my chair's a little wobbly, or hey, my shelf's a little crooked, or and that phone call cost me like $10 if you're calling me off of that ad.
Yeah.
And so I don't advertise those, and
So you stopped doing that.
I stopped doing that.
I
The very custom things have all come to me through either word of mouth or again, your network is huge. So I got to know a lot of different people while I was working at Homey. I've gotten to know a lot of different people over the last 5 years. The people that are most fun to work with are other creative agencies.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
two of the big projects that I'm working on right now came from Chamoy Creative. They are.
I heard of that.
They're fantastic, man. I'm not sure if you've been around town in the last year and a half, but we have 44 food pantries around town. I've built them all. We're planning a big celebration for the 50th one.
Nice. That's so cool.
That came to me from them. So again, that's why I don't have to advertise a whole lot. I think that I did it. I was spending like $500 a month in the first year.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was advertising for signage. I was advertising for, again, something that all I needed was one to pay
but you
for.
You kind of went away from that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, okay, now that we talked about like what you do for business, let's talk about like the back end business things that like probably didn't expect when you're building a business. And that's like managing the financing, doing the taxes, how to avoid paying, capital gains, or like, net profit. What was your expenses the first year? What are your expenses like now?
A lot. So year one, we probably paid out. So and again, I'm not counting the 6 months. I'm counting the year year right after that. But, we probably paid out like 80%.
80%. Wow.
So like 80,000.
80,000. So you had to make more than 80,000.
Yeah.
Just to operate.
Yeah.
And like I would imagine that today this is a lot more, right?
Actually, no.
You managed to cut that down.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So year, again, we're not counting the half year.
Right.
We're counting the
first full year.
First full year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, because I was paying a lot of people to do
things
to do things that I couldn't do.
Right.
Year two, it was probably like more like 70%, and our revenue went up, but again, along with that, our expenses went up. We did over 200 the second year, and then year three again we continued that trend.
Nice.
But I wanted to kind of again, first few years saying yes to everything, man.
Yeah.
Yes,
man.
Yes, we can do it. Yes, and I'd have somebody else do this, do that.
Yeah.
The reason that I'm actually spending a little bit less is because I'm picking the projects that are super custom, where I'm doing the work. So therefore, it's not getting paid out to somebody else, but it's still a pretty high ticket item. You know what I mean? So. For me, the number that matters is the profit.
Right.
So as long my profits have continued to go up, my revenue has gone up.
Yeah.
Last year it was down a little bit, but our profits were still up.
Interesting, because the expenses were still manageable.
Expenses were lower, probably maybe closer to like 50%. Maybe a little bit less. I don't have the actual numbers for you, but this year we're on trend for that also. So revenue coming down, but we're keeping more of that.
Yeah. What are you doing to invest back into your business?
Well, my favorite part is more toys.
More toys.
I mean, saving a little bit. Also, again, the whole point of this is for me to not be working my ass off every day for the next 15 years.
Right.
the goal is to have your money start working for you, and so I'm saving some to be able to seriously talk about that, in the next 12 18 months, and see how that goes. But
because you understand that, like, because you're self-employed and you have your own business, like there's no one that's going to take care of you, right? So and at the same time you can't work.
I can't work like this for no.
But it's fine. We're young now. We work hard now. We build, but it's what you do with with what you get in the future and stuff. So that's important to kind of look at that, right?
Yeah. To answer your question on what I invest things into, I buy tools and I buy machines that are gonna increase my productivity, that are going to either increase productivity, make the end product a higher quality, or make things or expand my capabilities. So again, the CNC was a huge purchase. I bought it. So year one, a month in, I got a project that was going to require me to make some CNC routed letters.
Right.
And could I have done it by hand? Probably.
Yeah.
But I like quality.
Yeah.
I like being able to say, being able to say, look, yes, I'm more expensive than that guy, but you're gonna like what you get from me better than that guy.
So by investing in these toys, these machines, you can actually charge more too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I have to, but I spent $2,000. I financed $2,000. I did a firm purchase, right?
Yeah.
And I spent $2,000 on the CNC machine.
Yeah.
I billed like a little over $1,000 for that first job, and so I was like, okay, well,
50% already kind of like taken care of.
Well, I had other expenses with that, but I paid it off within like 6 months, and then it was a little machine, man. It fit on this table.
Yeah,
it was a 30 by 30.
Wow.
And so, that's the other thing is the amount of large, kind of weird, crazy things that have come out of my 16 by 18 foot shop.
Yeah,
it's the size of a garage.
No way.
It blows my mind.
Yeah,
and it blows other people's minds where I have to work a little bit differently. I have to think about
Be creative,
I can't use my machine past this step in the process because it requires
more space.
It just So I do have to be very. This is my problem solving kind of portion of it, but I used that first CNC machine for about 2 years, and then year 3 going into 4, I decided to buy a bigger one.
Yeah.
That was I would say to date. To date, that is the single biggest purchase that I've made for the company. It's a $10,000 machine.
Yeah.
I got it on pre-order, so I got it for I think 8, and
nice.
I was like, man,
this better work.
Can I do it? Should I do it? Is it worth it? It's paid for itself already.
Yeah.
But I was able to pay it in one go, man, and that felt good. That felt cool.
Nice. Sometimes taking a big risk could have big rewards. But it's like knowing are you capable of taking that leap? And then which actually will lead me to my next question is like, where are you growing into? Like, what are your plans for like the next 3 to 5 years of your business? And are you think you'll be ready, or you might just jump?
Well, my constraint right now is space. My constraint right now is space. Again, I'm working out of a literal garage and my shop that's the size of a garage. So if you get a
bigger space, you might be able to do more work, bigger work, but then also increases your expenses, your operating expense.
Right. It's really nice not having a monthly rent bill. Yeah. It's really great.
Yeah.
So I think that the next step for me is to continue my relationship with these. I'm working also with Wide Awake Creative. We're doing some cool stuff. They'll be sending me out to Portland in May, but I think for me it's still about the relationships with those kind of people that they save me the step of finding the client that wants the really kind of crazy cool stuff, because they're the ones that have their network of clients that are talking about different things that may involve me or that may not involve me.
Right.
But when it's a project that does involve me, it saves me the trouble of having to find somebody who wants a
So having a network of other people,
Yeah.
right, that you can kind of rely on.
Yeah.
It's a big
Well,
deal.
other people, and and I've told this to
Yeah.
other woodworkers. I've told this, find the
Mhm.
people that already have the clients
Yeah.
that you want to be working with, and then you can just get to work.
Yeah.
Again, I bring up Chamoy a few times because
Yeah.
they've sent me a lot of good work. They sent me a
Nice.
lot of good work. Another sign shop that I work with here in town,
Hmm.
he's sent me a lot of really good work too.
And these are end up being like your referral partners too, right?
Yeah.
So they keep referring you business,
Yeah.
giving you business. So like you kind of like I call those class A, class A, customers because you treat them like A-listers, You
Oh, for sure.
take
For
care
sure.
of them. You
And there is a lot to be said when you don't have to worry about going through the process with the end client. With the end client, where you don't have to go over the different design revisions.
Yeah.
No, you come to me. You're like, hey, I have this. Here are the files. This is the materials that we need it out of.
Give
Go.
it to me by this date.
Boom.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because then I can get right to work.
Yeah.
Versus if I'm having to find that end client and having to sell them, having to figure out what do you want? Okay, can you
Yeah.
afford it? And then it's like, oh, you know what? Never mind. There's
Yeah.
somebody who can do it cheaper. Well,
Yeah.
that time was very valuable to me.
Yeah.
So,
So it sounds like I think as you grow your business, your biggest asset might be these relationships
1,000%.
because
Yeah.
you can maybe train someone to do what you can do, right? But it's not easy for someone in your job in your industry to like make the relationships you're making now, because like, for example, that Chamoy, what's that company called?
Chamoy Creative. Yeah.
Chamoy Creative, you may have the business owners there like have really good relationship with you, and like once you establish a relationship, I mean and you maintain that relationship, then like that you're the boy, need some work done, boom, they think of you,
Yeah.
So it's interesting, like not only is your quality of your work need to be important, but also how you manage your relationships
Yeah.
is important, especially as like this is your business, it's your company name, it's at the end of the day like you're responsible, and then as your business is growing, like how are you going to be able to scale it, without
Yeah.
having do more and less.
I will eventually have to hire.
Yeah.
I will eventually have to hire. And for me, the thing is, I'm a big fan of you get what you pay for.
Right.
You get what you pay for. So
Absolutely.
the tools that I buy, they're expensive.
Yeah.
I actually just pre-ordered a new laser that,
Nice.
that came out, and so everything's very expensive, and I want to carry that
Yeah.
over to when it's time to hire.
Yeah.
I want to pay for the talent, and
Yeah.
so I don't want to prematurely, try and hire somebody just to hire somebody,
Right.
and not be able to give them what they deserve,
Right.
because I'm going to ask a lot of whoever
Yeah.
I do hire.
Right.
It is important to me to maintain the quality. It's important to me,
Right.
and the reason that my numbers for paying out, the first few years was really high,
Yeah.
because I do pay my vendors really well.
Yeah.
What I tell them is, hey, look, I'm going to pay you well, but this is what I expect.
Yeah.
And at the same time,
So you can have a high standard because you pay well.
yeah. I mean, I have to. I have to, because otherwise, what's the
Yeah.
point? The other is, I want whenever they see my name on their phone, for them to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to pick this up. And I'm like, this guy again,
Yeah.
like he's always beating me up on
Right.
price.
If anything, like, oh, hold on one
Like-
second, let me answer this call.
Yeah.
That's kind of the response you want.
Yeah. So, and I think it's important. Again,
Yeah.
these guys are local too, man. They have their local businesses. They have their their families. They have their. I had one vendor. It was in 2020. We did all new signs for
Yeah.
a local bank, and we did like 6 of their locations, and he was my sign installer.
Wow.
And he called me up and he was like, hey man, like, I think he had been in business for a few years already, and he's like, I just wanted to call you and tell you that, like, I'm going over my numbers. He was like, and this month has been the best month in like
Nice.
the entire time that I've been in business.
Yeah.
And that right there, like, that felt great, man.
Right.
To be able to,
And you provided him a lot of work.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
Nice.
I enjoy that. I
Yeah.
enjoy that a lot. I think it's important, to support, again, like yourself,
Man.
to, I'm here doing a
Yeah.
podcast with you, not just because you're a really good friend of mine,
Yeah.
but because I believe in
Yeah.
expanding and, getting to know as many people as you can
Absolutely.
and figuring out where you never know where your next like big job is going to come from. You never know.
Right.
You never know who you're talking to, man.
Right.
I've had conversations with people just kind of in passing, and like, yeah, you can give them your card,
Yeah.
and this and that, and months later, they'll be like, hey, I met you at this place. Like, I
Yeah.
just wanted to see if maybe you could do something like this for me, and
Yeah.
it turns into a really cool or really big
So
job.
how cool is that?
Yeah.
Very interesting that you don't have like a traditional like marketing kind of style in order to generate the traffic. It's kind of like more word based. But you mentioned something that kind of triggered a thought. Is you're year 5 now, going on
It'll be
year
5 in June.
Year
Yeah.
5. What advice would you give Derek 5 years ago when you first started? Right.
Buy Bitcoin.
By Bitcoin now, all in.
Yeah.
But yeah, what kind of advice would you give him? Because the growth you have, right?
Mhm.
I wonder if you knew what you knew now, and if you can start over, if you can get where you're at now faster, and what kind of advice would you give Derek?
Man, again, the cliche of like,
Yeah.
just, talk to these people first or talk to those
Yeah.
people first, but I really do believe that I would, if I was trying to do the jobs that I'm doing today, year 1, I'd fail at them and then I'd lose the job. You know what I mean? So I do think that the advice that I would say is maybe be a little more aggressive with your no. When I raised my prices,
Yeah.
that was like, man, like I had to,
Yeah.
I had to, and it almost felt weird. It felt
Yeah.
weird to be like,
From
man,
this
like,
price to this price.
yeah,
But it was justifiable.
and people were still
Yeah.
saying yes.
Yeah.
People, I was like, oh man,
Oh,
I
let
didn't,
me go more.
I didn't go high enough. I when I came to that point, it was like, I try to be fair.
Yeah.
I try to be fair, for sure. But sometimes you do have to up it a little bit and be like, I gotta.
That's a process. I think that's a natural process of organic growth.
Yeah.
When you're growing and what you were doing before is not matching what makes sense.
Mhm.
And so that's much better than like raising your prices for no reason because of your competitors. No, like you're producing the business
Mhm.
that's justifying the raising of the price.
Yeah. Well, I would say I should have done it sooner.
Mm.
I should have done it sooner. And also, like I said, like I didn't start a relationship with a creative agency until, I think, let me see, until like 2.5 years in.
Yeah.
So I'd
But
probably.
luckily you had a lot of experience by then, right?
Yeah.
So by the time you
Yeah,
start
well, I
working with.
had more tools and I
Yeah.
had more, yeah, for sure. But I'd probably, the advice I'd say is, give myself is, reach out to as many creative agencies as you can right away. And don't be afraid to charge a little bit because
Nice.
you do know what you're doing.
Yeah, nice. That's some great feedback. So let's recap, man. You've been in business for 12 years, I would say.
Sure.
Your first 7 years, you were in entrepreneur school,
Yes.
and so the success you have now, really, it's been a long game. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it sounds like you're very humble in your approach. So like it was a process that takes time
For sure.
and then builds.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's a reflection of a true like entrepreneur and a small business owner. Like there's no shortcuts to success.
Right.
You fail, and the difference is you don't stop.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see where your business grows in the next 3 to 5 years.
Thank you.
Maybe we can have you back on and we can talk about like what the Derek then would have told Derek now.
Sure.
And I'm excited for that conversation, man. Thank you
Absolutely,
for being
man.
on, man.
Thanks
If
for
someone
having
wanted
me.
to get more information with you, like how can they reach out to you? You have a website? You have a
Yeah.
phone number?
Xmanaged.com, X-managed, MANAGED.com, or Instagram at Xmanaged, XMANAGED.
Nice. Well, we'll put
Yeah.
that in the description.
Cool, man.
So thank you, man. Until
Appreciate
next
it,
time, brother.
Thank you.
And cheers.
Cheers, man.